What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. I've got a podcast audit jam session happening here with my pod pal Colby from the Things Leaders Do podcast. Colby, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. Been listening for a while and ready to do this thing.
All right, man. Straight out of Austin, Texas, Colby Morris. All right, so we're gonna do this thing. I want to set a goal first. So you got the Things Leaders Do podcast. Let's say we have an awesome jam session today. I give you all sorts of ideas you implement, and then over the next 6 months, things explode. What would that look like? What would a great next 6 months look like for you?
Man, honestly, adding value. I know that sounds cheesy, but there's a lot of leaders out there I just want to add value to. Got a lot of experience. As far as me personally, I'd love to build my personal brand, make that a part of my future. Make podcasting a part of the business, but something that I love to do.
Okay. That sounds like in line with what I like to do here. What do you think is like one or two of the main obstacles that we need to overcome to get you there? Like what do you seem to be kind of struggling with right now?
Man, right now it's it's just trying to find where are the people? How do I reach them? I'm looking at my statistics every day, get a little bummed out, and just like, man, that's. I think my mom's, listening, but I'm not sure who else is.
Yeah.
But
Yep. I've got this Instagram reel I did a long time back, and I was like, it's kind of like a Jeff Foxworthy, you're a redneck if, but it's like, you're a podcaster if. And I'm like, if you've ever gone to Best Buy and subscribed every the display device to your podcast, you might be a podcaster. So I keep meaning to actually go to a Best Buy and like get film of me doing that. Have my son film me or whatever. But yeah, like hearing the crickets, that's a big deal. And that's something that I like to help people overcome. So let's definitely dive into that today. If you were to describe your ideal listener, like who is that? Who should be out there listening to your show right now? As specific as you can make it.
Right. So I target leaders in organizations, businesses who are kind of tired of the theory and just need actionable tools they can use to start being better. What is it I can do today, tomorrow that, some tools, some advice that I can go out there and actually start practicing and immediately start getting better at being a leader.
Okay.
Sometimes that's newer leaders. But what I'm also finding post-COVID is that's a lot of, we'll call them seasoned leaders like myself,
Okay.
who are having to change the way we used to lead.
Okay. So leaders in the business / entrepreneurship space, could we use words like bosses, managers, like is that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's what we're talking. Okay, cool. Just to make sure I'm dialed in there, because the first thing I want to look at, the first layer is always SEO, search engine optimization, with like our content, our name, what we're putting in our podcast host description. And I think leaders / leadership is a great category to kind of be swimming in there. But I think if we can answer the question, what type of leader, just making it like, this is the leadership show for me, for like, I could just call my show Business School, but I call it Podcasting Business School. So there's that extra layer of diving into the niche of podcasting. Like, this is business school for podcasters, people that are developing online brands and businesses. So I would challenge you to look at your brand and go like, who really is this for? Is it for 40-plus-year-old males that are entrepreneurs, that have their own company, or even like looking at like team sizes? Like this show is for bosses and managers leading teams of 10 people or more, 10 people or less, like being as specific as possible for who it's for. That's how you're going to win the game. Because right now you're competing against leadership across the board. And that's hard as an independent podcaster, super hard. Like, that's why me calling my show Business School, I'm competing against Marie Forleo and Amy Porterfield and freaking all the dudes, all the bros out there in their private jets and everything. And it's just like, I can't compete against them. They're giant marketing budget and teams and all that. So what I had to do is become the people's champion. I'm like, all right, this is podcasting business school. I'm letting people in on my freaking journey and my story. Like, I wasn't full time when I started this brand and this show, and it was my journey to going full time and then exceeding all my financial expectations full time and working to a 3-day work week full time, all this cool stuff. But so I brought people in onto my hero's journey, and now I've been able to become kind of like the people's champion when it comes to podcasting and online business building from the podcasting perspective, as like having a podcast at the center of your ecosystem. So I would challenge you to be like, what is that niche below the niche that you can really be like, I'm that person's leader. I'm that person's person that I may not have it all the way figured out yet, but I'm going to take them on the journey with me. And that's something that once you find that, you should really be psyched about it, because now you've got your little tribe, your little army of people that you're like, these people just totally resonate with what I'm all about. Like, if I was just to do a business school show, like, I didn't freaking go to business school, like I can't speak on that.
Right.
I got an exercise science degree from Indiana University, which is like basically like we take yoga and billiards and get a degree. And we did, chemistry. I just, got my C+ and I was good to go. So we got to think about like, what can you really nerd out on, like subtopics of leadership or subcategories of leadership. So anyway, any thoughts around that we can maybe dive into?
I think that's probably been my toughest challenge, honestly, is as I really worked to try to find the niche, I feel like I'm leaving out the people that I feel need it, right? And so part of me thinks, okay, I need to hone in on new leaders, people that are just getting into leadership, management positions. Maybe it's the first time they're a boss. They need these tools. And the reason I think that is, I think it leaves me an audience to retain longer, because they'll stick with me as they grow. Whereas if I focus on the seasoned leaders, they take a tool or two and they move on.
Yeah.
The only reason I haven't kind of deviated there is because I also have a side business where I do consulting, and some of those older seasoned leaders are the kinds that I tend to end up consulting as well. So
yeah,
it may just be I have to divide the two and say this probably isn't going to lend itself to that, and I just make it two different entities.
Well, I like the way that you're thinking, but let's challenge you to maybe not even niche down by experience level. Like, that doesn't have to be the defining thing. Because I feel like that you could be like the show for 6-figure earners in the leadership, in the management, entrepreneurial leadership space. And that would be cool. And then you get all those seasoned people listening in, and that is a definite thing, but you don't have to do that. Like, it could be a niche within like an interest level. So it could be for certain types of businesses. So like B2B businesses, sales businesses, solopreneurship businesses. It could be for men. It could be for Christian men. It could be like, there's all sorts of like categories that you could niche down into, and then you can still coach people along the whole journey. Like, I would leave that gate open a little bit and look at some of these interest niche that you could, like, when people read the description of the show or the name of the show, they go, that's me. Like, when a lot of people find my show because they're searching for podcasting tips, and all sorts of podcasts about podcasting pop up, and they see podcasting business school, and they realize that they really do need to learn how to do business as a podcaster. And I get kind of first dibs. And and I'm using words that resonate with my ideal listener, and the name of the show and the description of the show. So I do like the idea of you being able to serve, like maybe you have an offer or an online course or even free stuff and free content that you offer for the just getting started leader, brand new boss for the first time. What the heck do I do now? I've got a team of 10 and I've never done this before. Where do I even start with this? Up into I've got a team of 50 people. I've been in the game for 10 years. I'm a 6-figure earner. I feel like you can serve that whole timeline of that journey. And that's similar to what I do. I got people that are brand new podcasters that don't even know how to upload a download. They don't know what the heck's happening. And I got people that are multi-million-dollar earners, and I've got offers and free and paid and content that kind of serves that whole, the whole gamut there, but it's through a podcasting lens. That's the niche that I'm like, okay, this really isn't going to work unless a podcast is kind of an important part of your brand, or you want it to be an important part of your brand.
Right.
So any thoughts on just like interest categories, age, male, female, anything like that you're like, that could be kind of the group that really resonates with me and I resonate with them?
Again, I think it's my biggest struggle. I can see, just saying the new leader, maybe trying to niche down and try to find what defines a new leader that I'm trying to reach.
Yeah.
Maybe get AI to ask me some questions on how to niche that down some.
Do you feel like you're talking to a lot of leaders in a specific type, like a specific type of business or a specific type of company that you could niche into? Is there any through line there? Are they all solopreneurs? Are they all businesses of certain team levels? Any common ground?
The feedback I'm getting, mostly people connect with me on LinkedIn, and it's everything from entrepreneurs, solopreneurs to somebody in corporate America leading 10 people, like you said, leading 50 people. It's such a mix right now. It's kind of all over the place, because I wanted to say, okay, who am I talking to? Who's giving me this feedback? And it's all over the place.
Okay. So I think an experiment that may be worthwhile then is do a few like episodes or episode series and talk to specific types of leaders in specific parts of your timeline, and put out a couple episodes in a row for newer leaders, put a few out for 6-figure plus earners or a certain 10 years experience or whatever. Like it could be an episode called 7 mistakes that I see leaders making that have been in a leadership position for 10 years or longer, or like something like real specific, and just see what happens with the downloads and be like, did this go crazy? Did the other one go crazy? Tips for leaders, 40 plus males, or just like try different categories, people leading business to business sales teams, tips for those people, whatever, and just kind of explore different categories and let's see. I mean, something's going to pop. And if it doesn't, then okay, I've got a huge mix here. But I almost guarantee if you do 1 to 2 episodes on these topics, kind of rotate them around, I think this would be a great experiment for the first half of 2024. Like, let's just throw a few lines in the water content wise, and then see what your people really respond to and go, okay, then you see something get 2 times the downloads as something else. You go, okay, let's do another topic that's similar to that content, see if it pops again, and boom, if it rises up again, okay, this is something that is resonating. This is something that we could potentially niche down into and maybe put into the name of the show. So it's like Things Leaders Do podcast, conversations about X, Y, and Z, and have that X, Y, and Z be kind of what's featured in that sub niche. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I really like it, because I've been doing the show by topics and trying to do a series by topic, whether it's culture or whatever. I like the idea of focusing in on specific target audience. I could do a series pretty easily. 5 common mistakes of new leaders. 10 things I wish 6-figure leaders knew. That kind of stuff. And just see what happens. I love that idea.
Yeah, and just be like unafraid with your content. Like I've gone through cycles where I'm just like, man, the numbers are really going good. I don't want to upset the apple cart here. I don't want to lose any listeners. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And we can't always be that way. Like sometimes we have to go, all right, let's make sure the right people are listening. So let's do some experimental content. And as you do these episodes, I would put a call to action and be like, hey, I would love your feedback on this episode. I'm really trying to figure out who is out there listening and how I can best serve you. If you love this episode, or even better, if you hated this episode, go to this link and fill out this survey and get people on your freaking, make it like, I'm going to get their email address. They fill out a little questionnaire. What's the number one topic that you want me to talk about on the show? How would you describe yourself? And man, I think that could be a valuable call to action. You just do like 8 to 12 weeks with that call to action and don't send them anywhere else. You're putting people on your email list, and like, we got to figure out who the heck's listening and who you can best serve. And like spending 3 months, 4 months, just doing that, this could pay off for freaking years. Because if you want to do this and make the podcast a bigger part of your brand, a bigger part of your business that you kind of lean more and more into, you got to figure this out. Like, as soon as I figured out who my audience was, I'm like, man, my people are a lot of like service providers, a lot of online entrepreneurs, online business builders. They need to learn how to grow their brand with the podcast, how to get it launched, growing and monetized. Once I figured that out, I was like, I don't need to talk about sponsorships that much. I don't need to talk about all this other stuff. Like, I just need to lean into that. And my audience has responded in a big, big way. I just continuously get to talk to people like yourself that I'm like, wow, Colby's an ideal fit for my audience. He's exactly who I want listening to this show. This is great. Like, I'm like, it all magically works. You know, you found the show, you're listening to it, and now we're interacting. Like, that's exactly what I want to have happen. So, yeah, I think homework wise, like, I would just make a list of different topics, and like, let's look at like 90 days, man, and just go, I'm going to experiment for 90 days. So January, February, March, I'm going to just do experimental content, really trying to figure out who the heck I'm talking to. What are hot button, like, tips and mistakes always work. So 5 mistakes that blah, blah, blah make, 3 tips for the new blah, blah, blah. Those always work. But have, like, map that out. Let's roll it out. And I would try to get some sort of online quiz, even like a Google intake form or whatever. But I would collect emails. So now you're collecting email addresses, building your list, and ask questions like I said, like, what is the number one topic you would love for me to discuss on the show more often? What topic should I discuss less? What are the main leadership pain points you're dealing with right now? And that could be a checkbox or an open box. So I'm a big fan of check boxes, like check all that apply.
Right.
So I can kind of like spoon feed them ideas, and then, what are words that you would use to describe yourself? Check all that apply, like all that stuff. And let's just research the heck out of this thing for 90 days. And then, man, I mean, this could literally pay off for freaking years, Colby. Like, you get this dialed in, and all of a sudden you lean into what your audience wants you to lean into. That's when the engagement goes skyrocketing. Like, these people hear you speaking to them using language that they use to describe themselves or their pain points, their goals. All of a sudden they become obsessed, and it's just binge city. And you're more relatable, and you're their people's champion. That's exactly kind of how this conversation started. Like, that's how we become the boots on the ground. I'll do the freaking dirty work, people's champion. Everybody's got to do the dang dishes, and you're just in there for 3 months. You're just doing the dishes for 3 months in a row, getting out there, digging in. Somebody asks you a question, sends you an email or DMs you. You got to have that intake form. Like, hey, I would love to learn more about you. I want to serve you. You are the type of person that I want to create content for. Can you fill this out for me real quick? And just hit them all up for that and collect as much data as possible. And you'll come out the other side with much more clarity on exactly where your brand needs to go. So any thoughts on that?
Love that. I'm a process operations person by nature. So I'm kind of working through that in my head. Like, okay, I have my website built. It's not published yet. It's a matter of just pushing the publish button, right? That's so stupid. But is there a way to do that Google intake form or something like that without having them go to like your particular website?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've never done a Google intake form. I use,
or whatever.
Yeah. I use there's a aspect of Kajabi, which is the platform I build my website on. They have like a little quiz feature that I can use that. But I mean, whatever you're using, that it should have like a share link, and you just make sure that the cells have name and email on there. That way you can take their email and their name and send it over to your CRM or whatever you're building out. And then you've got a place to organize it all. And so inside of Google, when you create the little intake form, they should have a share link and you can just send that directly. And that way, so like barrier of entry on this thing, make your list of your topics, get 90 days worth of content ready to roll. And I would record an intro and an outro with like, hey, this is Colby. And I'm excited that you're listening to this episode. I want to get to know more about you. I want to create the content that in the show that you want and that serves you the best. Please take 5 minutes, go to the link in the show notes, click on that intake form and tell me a little bit more about yourself. And I do that in the intro and the outro and just have that as the only call to action for your show. Don't send them to your Instagram. Don't send them to rate and review. Don't have them do anything else and just talk about it. And I would record maybe 2 variations of the intro, 2 variations of the outro. So it's like different music or different words. So it's not the same thing. I'm the worst. I don't even follow that advice. I'll do 12 weeks in a row, the same freaking stuff, but do as I say, not as I always do. But even sometimes I'll just flip flop the intro and the outro. I'm like, all right, last week I used that as outro. It's the intro this week. And then I'll just swap them around, but record that and we're good to go there. And then just start putting those out and then just push that intake form link out on social, email, on the show. And I think as you collect data sooner rather than later, you're going to start getting pretty clear info. Like, all right, these are my people right here. They're showing up. And just think about questions like, I really want to know what type of business they're in. I want to know their experience level. I probably wouldn't go as far as asking how much money they make, but maybe like, what, maybe you can ask about like their business range, like their, the company that they work for, even like employee numbers, how many people they're in charge of, all that stuff. But I would make sure they can fill it out in 5 minutes or less. I wouldn't ask them to upload anything. That always stalls me out when I'm like on my phone and they're like, upload. Attach something here. I'm like, it's not on my phone, it's on my computer. So that always is a detractor for me. But I'm weird like that. So I really think this, I know it's not like we're going to make money real quick doing this or anything, but I think you get this figured out. Then for years you can make money. Like you figure out your audience, you understand how to serve them the way they want to be served. Then the opportunities are endless. Makes sense.
Love it.
Yeah, I know you got a lot of ideas and a lot of action steps and a lot of things we could go into, but I think this is the low hanging fruit. And this is the thing that it's the first domino to create momentum. And, you and I can always follow up and figure out the next domino once you figure out who the heck we're talking to here.
But that makes sense.
In the meantime, I want to make sure that you can shout out your brand and your show, and people that want to dig in can come find you. So go ahead and take that mic and let us know where to dive into the world of Colby Morris.
So the show is Things Leaders Do. Again, it's about actionable leadership advice. Most people connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just Colby Morris. The only guy with white beard named Colby on there, I think. And other than that, my Instagram, I have Things Leaders Do Instagram for the show as well. And those are the 2 best ways to catch me.
All right, go on LinkedIn and find Colby Whitebeard Morris. It sounds like a Viking. Really.
It does, right? Yeah. Maybe I should get that.
Colby Viking Whitebeard Morris. All right. So make sure you guys go and support Colby. Check out his show. And if you fit his leadership profile, like, he puts that link up, go fill it out and help him figure out exactly who he needs to be talking to, especially if you're that person. All right, Pod Pals, if you guys want to pop on for a podcast audit, just like Colby did here today, head on over to the website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. Get signed up. We are now booking for the next 90 days. The calendar is open and it fills up quickly. So hop on the calendar. Would love to have you on the show. And with that, Pod Pals, I'm going to send you out into the world, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. I will see you next time.